Alright, this is the unit called the real numbers. So we're going to build up to that. And we start with how to use integers and rational numbers. We'll talk about both of those, but let's back up a little bit. What are the natural numbers? Well, the way to remember that is how do you naturally count? And when you naturally count, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so on. What are the whole numbers? Well, that's just the natural numbers plus the number 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, 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 dot. And integers go both ways. -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 dot. So the integers include the whole numbers include the natural numbers. Something that always pops up is the number 0 negative or positive. Well, it's neither. It's in between. So what are rational numbers? Well, again, we look into the word. We have the word ratio, which means fraction. So generally speaking, they are decimals or fractions, where the decimals can be represented as fractions. So for example, 0.8 is 4/5, and 0.3 repeating is 1/3. These are both rational numbers. Now the rational numbers also completely include all the integers, which include all the whole numbers, which include all the natural numbers. So if we were to chart them, we would have the natural numbers on the very middle. And we add the number 0, and that would give us the whole numbers. Then we add negative numbers. And that gives us the integers. And then we add basically fractions. That gives us the rational numbers. That's just a good way to think about them. Now, when we have two numbers, how do we know which one is greatest? Well, after a little while, you can just look at this and you'll know. But if you ever get confused, draw out a number line. One of many mathematicians' favorite little tools, but not mine. I'm not a big fan. Put 0 in the middle. You know that it goes 1, 2, 3 positive one way, -1, -2, -3 the other way. And greater is on the right side. So, which is bigger, -3 or -5? Or pardon me, or +5? Well, here's +5. Here's -3. So 5 is greater than -3. How about -7 and -3? Because that one can be very confusing when we go -7 and -3. Therefore, -3 is bigger than -7. Again, once you practice, you get pretty good at it, but it's handy to have a number line the first few times you do it. Now, there are two types of rational numbers, which I just showed. They are repeating. And that was 0.3 repeating, which happens to equal 1/3. And they are terminating. Like 0.25 is 1/4, or 5/4, which is 1.25, or the number 4, which you could write as 4/1, but we just write as 4. Those are all terminating. So as practice, which numbers are whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers? Well, you write what can fit in the most outermost box. So for example, 0, you could call it would fit in the most innermost box. You could call it a rational number. You could also call it a whole number. An integer, you could also call it a whole number, but you couldn't call it a natural number. So we'll say this is a whole number. It's a decimal, so it's clearly a rational. This is a rational, and this is quite boring. So let's say this was -4, and that would be an integer. Now, you can easily line them up using the number line, but first you have to take any fraction, and you can use it with the calculator. In this case, it's -3/4, and I know that 3/4 is 75 cents, so it's a -0.75, and put them in order. So this would be -4, then -2.1, then -3/4, then 0, then 0.8. Simple enough. And again, with a little practice, get that no problem. What's the opposite of a number? Well, just put a negative out front. If there's already a negative, then you change it to a positive. So the opposite of 7 is -7. The opposite of -8 is +8. And last but not least, what is the absolute value of a number? Well, first off, the symbol are two vertical lines. And secondly, we define it as positive, so it's always going to be a positive number, distance from 0. So again, you can pull out a number line. I'm going to make a very simple number line. So we have 0, we have 12, now here we have -23. Well, how far is it from 0 to 12? So the absolute value of 12 is 12, piece of cake. And how far is it from 0 to -23? Well, the absolute value of -23 is 23. So if it's positive, leave it positive. If it's negative, make it positive. That's it. Good luck working on the problems.